What's going on, everybody? This is Austin Wolfe with the Austin Wolfe Show. I'm here with my man Wyatt Janning. What's going on, brother?
Living the dream.
Love it, man. Yeah, so I've actually interviewed Wyatt before. I don't know if you guys heard that podcast. So we're going to do a new one, doing a visual, obviously this time. So Wyatt, why don't you tell the listeners, a little bit about you, just some background information, and go from there.
Yeah. So, by trade and by mastery and obsession and education, I started in psychology. And when it was time basically to go and do post-grad work, maybe get a master's or a PhD or go to law school, a lot of my friends, they weren't doing that route. And one group of my friends, they were selling pest control door to door. And I had done it one summer and made pretty good money, but I learned a ton of skills. And so, all my friends, like, they were in the program, they were going to do these like PhDs and whatnot, and I just hadn't done the applications or anything.
Right.
And my thing was I kind of wanted to do that or law school, but I just couldn't get myself to send it. So I sent it on what I had previously done, which was selling pest control and then building organizations. So I'd built a few organizations up to that point. And wow, now it's been 8 years. And I've been responsible for over $50 million in first year direct sales pest control contracts. And if you would look at the residuals, like the total revenue generated outside of just the first year of those contracts I sold, it would probably be closer to like 75 or 80 million. Pest control is a funny space too. It's kind of this niche service industry, but it is a $20 billion or $40 billion industry somewhere in that area. So the revenue that me and my organization has generated, if you like for instance, this last year we did about 10 million.
Yeah.
It's actually big enough to be a top 50 pest control company in the entire country.
Wow.
So, which is hilarious because I'm like 27, I just turned 27 years old this year, and I'm like, we're like dominating. Mom and pops have been around for like 50 years. And, so that's what I'm having fun with right now. My big specialty, though, is working with people and recruiting. So I help young people. I'm an expert recruiter. That's what I've really been, what I've really figured out. And so I help young people jumpstart their careers through this program that we run. So, that's a good tidbit about me.
Yeah, for sure.
One day I won't have to explain it.
Yeah, for sure. Let's dive into sales. So, going back to your first days knocking at Aptiv, right? What are some of the challenges that you face knocking? What are some of the things you learned from door knocking? Of Bobby and Victoria's house trying to sell pest control. What has it taught you?
Yeah. So, the first thing is, I never wanted to go follow a passion. Because, who'd you say, Bobby and Susan, right?
Yeah, whoever.
Right,
Yeah.
Bobby and Susan,
yeah.
Random customer.
Right.
They don't care that you love, whatever it is that you love. They care that you solved a problem for them and how well you did it and how big the problem was, the amplitude, and how efficiently you got it done, okay? So this concept of people following their passion no matter what, it's really dumb because if you are... You look at athletes, and that's why people talk about the passion thing. They're literally the top 0.00001% in the world, and that's why they get paid millions and millions of dollars. So what I learned in sales is that you've really got to just identify a hot button and a problem to solve, and then make it super easy for them to see how efficiently you can solve the problem.
Right.
Okay. Another thing with sales that I run into a lot is when people think about selling houses or they think about selling cars, they think about their immediate network, which is cool. I was thrown into the completely opposite. So, being from Coastline, North Carolina, live in Topsail, very rural. My company said, "Hey, we're gonna throw you in Baltimore, Metro."
Wow.
Totally different world. A lot of people with high-paying federal jobs.
Yeah.
Very rough around the edges people,
right.
Okay,
yeah.
Compared to where we're at here.
Yeah, for sure.
And so they're like, hey, you don't know Bobby and Susan. go meet a Bobby and go meet a Susan and figure out how to sell them, right?
Love that.
And so, I just full sense it, man. I think people really try to figure out all that they can about something that they're interested in, and they want to make a plan, and they want to sit on the plan, and they want to read the book, and they want to tell their friends about the plan. I'm all about doing the plan.
Action.
Taking action.
Right.
Yeah. And I'd never sold anything in my life. And on my
Nothing.
No.
That's crazy.
No. Like,
Wow.
I went around with a wagon growing up.
Yeah.
Like, trying to knock doors and selling things out of a wagon.
Yeah.
But I ended up like sitting the wagon at a stop sign.
Yeah.
And like waiting for people to come to me because I was so bad at it.
So they didn't teach you this in school, is what you're saying?
No.
So where did you learn get your sales experience? What? Just repetition, right?
Yeah. So I had a few jobs basically where I had to problem solve. So I was cleaning cars, and I'd get a car back that wasn't perfect, and I'm like, okay, if I don't do the job well, I'm probably gonna have to do it again. So let's not do it again, right? So I learned that about customer service.
Yep.
And then I was moving and renting kayaks and surfboards at a beach shop for 2 years, managing the surf shop.
Wow.
Ordeal. It was outside. People would just come to me, and I realized that I'd have a lot of people come back because they like to talk to me. When my buddies called me and said, hey, we're selling pest control, it made me a little nervous, and that's how I knew I needed to go do it.
Right.
And so I went out and just started knocking doors. I think one funny thing is that my entire first day, I didn't make a single sale. So I'm knocking for like 12 hours. I talked to like 90 people, close to 100 people. I mean,
that many knocks in one day?
Oh, yeah, like at least 250
Yeah.
knocks. I was one of the
Sheesh.
first guys to get started. They thought I was going to do good. I don't know why. I had a massive beard and hair like down here and way thicker than I have now. They thought I was going to do good, so they got me out there. And I talked to 90 people. I make 0 sales, so 0 interest.
How do you feel that day?
Oh, man,
Discouraging, right? It's got to be a little discouraging. You're motivated.
Another thing about sales that I've learned is that, in a way, you kind of have to be like absurdly naive, and that creates this absurd patience. So when my managers and when the people I was working with are saying, oh, it'll come, I really believed them. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, it'll come. So I didn't really have that big of a discouragement. The next day I'm knocking. I started knocking at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Again, Baltimore, people were really, pushing me off their doorstep. And I make my first sale. It's 4 o'clock. I'd been knocking for 6 hours, no lunch. We don't take lunches, is what I thought. And I made my first sale at 4, and I finished the day with 4. So I went from 0 to 4. And, that's pretty much how I'd gotten started. But, I can be long-winded sometimes, but it really comes down to taking action. Doesn't matter what your plan is. Take action and then make a plan based on the type of results you got and the inputs that led to those results. The other thing is I'm absurdly patient. And it comes from an absurd gullible nature. You could tell me the sky is green because I just naturally trust people and have faith in people. I'm like, okay, it's green. There's probably a tornado coming. That's the connection I'd make.
Wow.
And so when people were telling me my career, hey, go sell pest control door to door. It could be a good career. You can learn a lot. It's great for your resume. I just listened and did it and had a lot of success. When they say work an extra hour the second year I did it, work an extra hour a day, I didn't ask any questions. I just did it. That's just the way my brain worked. They're good people. When they said go recruit 100 people and lead a team the next year, I recruited 115 people, and I led it. And I went out and I took them all out to Las Vegas, Nevada, from North Carolina. We all drove 30 hours across the country, and I tried to lead a team. And it was really that moment where I realized what I really needed to work on were the gullible nature, were the naivety. I had to have some tact. So I'm 3 years into working before I'm even conscious of what's going on. I'm just unconsciously dialed in, outwork everybody all the time, whatever it takes. And then it's okay, that third summer it blew up in my face. That's finally when I'm like, okay, let's have some tact. I'm probably going to need to learn a little bit about strategy, maybe something about sales, maybe train some people, maybe, start actually judging people for what they wear to an interview. That's when those things started to emerge because I didn't get the exact results that I'd wanted.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
So you guys listen. I mean, you hear Wyatt's story, right? I mean, he went from literally college, in fraternity, really didn't know what he was doing, and now he's leading guys, doing up to, $100 million in revenue that he's produced for him and his team. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, that's the power.
That's actually my password.
Wow. What's your password?
It's 100 million.
Wow.
There you go. My password is I haven't done 100 million.
Yeah.
But
going to, right?
But the goal is to do 100 million in a summer.
Wow.
And so my best friend, partner, mentor, Damon Lilly, we run this thing together. And he'll for sure do 100 million in the next few years, but that's really what I'm after.
Yeah.
And it's never been about the money. It's more been about the performance, like the competition of it. It's never been. Aptiv was the first company to ever do $100 million just in a summer.
Wow.
And so now,
it's incredible.
Me and Damon are like, let's just do it for our region.
Right.
Even if it takes 10 years, we're going to learn a lot along the way.
Yeah.
We're going to master how to get $100 million.
Right.
In pest control revenue. So.
And what is that? That's a goal, right?
Yeah.
And so you guys got to have goals. So that's the number one thing that, Wyatt, everybody at Aptiv have done so successfully is create goals that are attainable and reachable, right? Sometimes we have these goals in mind that, that aren't really reachable, right? And it's good to set goals, set it high, but, I feel like that's the same thing in my businesses, right? Setting goals, and Wyatt's a testament of that. And, dude, let's talk about leadership, right? So leadership's probably been one of the number one things that has accredited to your success, right? Because without a good team, there's no where you guys are at, right? So you guys as a region Aptiv is all about leadership, right?
Yeah.
And leading people. So touch on leadership and what it's meant to you and how, leadership's changed you.
Well, leadership is definitely not a position. It's more of like a platform, and it's really just when you're in a leadership role, it's just the first step. Like the next step that you really got to do when you're in a role is the people that you're working with, like you're going to want them to acknowledge and you to gain their respect as a leader. Because if you just go in too timid or like bull in a china shop and you don't care about the relationships, then you're not going to be a super effective leader. And so that's like the first big thing that I see people do is they're like, well, I'm the team leader, that's why you listen. No, that's actually why they shouldn't listen. Go build a relationship first with your people, and then basically from there, the relationship will have fruits of the labor of the relationship. Okay? So leadership's all about influence.
Mm-hmm.
And, it all starts with relationships. This right here, like shaking hands.
Right.
Like if you can't go out, meet strangers and shake hands, what's barring you from being able to actually do that in your office? It's going to translate. So it really first starts with that relationship, which helps you build more influence. And I think a real big lost art in leadership is how important recruiting is. It doesn't, people want to be leaders. I want to run this company. I want to run that company. A lot of times, like, they just do it with crappy people. Being a leader is not like, hey, let me run a 100-person company. How about let's run 100 of the right people in the company. If you have 100 of the right people in a company versus 100 of the wrong people, that's the difference in $1 billion sometimes.
It's just like, right, I'd rather have 3 true good friends than 50 fake friends.
Yeah. I try to keep a really small circle, because of that.
Yeah.
But over time, I'm learning in life, like you do have to expand the circle. But yeah, leadership is a whole can of worms. I mean, the last thing I'd say on leadership is you can't be a leader if, like, your example isn't fitting the future of the organization. Your entire organization is going to become what you are.
Right.
So that doesn't mean that you go around firing people because they don't wake up at 4:00 in the morning like you do. That's your job. Okay, it's your business, it's your organization. You don't get the trophy at the end of the day because you woke up at 4:00 in the morning. What you get is the respect, the example, and then maybe one day that trickle down effect with your organization that produces an incredible product for a customer, an incredible service for a customer, and has some longevity to it. But what I really don't like is I'm doing all the right things. You know, I'm a leader. I'm doing all the right things. Well, I can't fix perfect. So if you're doing all the right things, shouldn't you get the right results? Let's have some awareness, dial back, figure out what you're not doing right, fill those gaps, turn your zeros into ones, turn your days you won't get out of bed into just, one more day getting out of bed. And then let's just go from there, And so all in all, you'll know how good of a leader you are based on your organization, because your organization is going to embody you. So you got people leaving you.
Right.
You're not really creating a system of hope, a success. If your organization's like super negative, you're being negative.
Right.
If your organization's like, if not very healthy, you're probably not very healthy. Everything is a trickle down. I did 75 hard in 2020 and lost during that program about 40, 50 pounds, and then another 40, 50 pounds over the next 6 months. And then all of a sudden, a year later, my entire organization is full of guys that just rip weights all the time.
Super big.
And it wasn't an intention thing. It's just kind of what happened, So you just got to understand that leadership is influence. It's starting with the relationship. You got to have the right people. You got to give them the right opportunity, the motivation, the resources to be successful. And then ultimately have discipline and be the example you want your organization to be. Because no matter what's going on, that organization is going to embody your day by day. You're not going to. That is going to happen. You're not going to be able to avoid it.
Yeah, that's huge. So what are 3 tips right now? If you're an entrepreneur, if you're just a regular guy at home, how can you be a leader? What are 3 tips to enhance your leadership ability, skills? I know we both like John Maxwell.
Yeah.
He teaches a lot on leadership. But if you could do 3 takeaways right now, what would that be?
Yeah, so to be clear, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a proud entrepreneur. I'm the type of person that maybe in their 40s and 50s dabbles in franchising, because I love to follow a stronger leader. I love having a mentor. So for instance at Aptiv, one of my first meetings to work at Aptiv was with the CEO, Ves Pearson.
Right.
And he'd come to Wilmington, and I looked at him and I said, this is a guy I could get behind. I'll go to war with this guy.
Wow.
And he came back 6 months later, was like, I want you to be a soldier. And I'm like, how'd you know? I'm
How
so
did you know
stoked.
he was that guy, though?
I could just, that's a great question. He just maintained really good eye contact. He listened to me. You could tell the leader in the room based on who's listening the most.
Right.
So he listened to me a lot.
Wow.
And I knew what Aptiv stood for. I knew the success they'd had. And also the last thing was he didn't tell me who he was. So when he was there, I don't even know how I was so nervous. I didn't know who it was that I was talking to in the interview. I don't remember his name. But I remember when I was walking out, I asked hey, wait, I didn't catch your name. And he says, I'm Ves Pearson. And I'm like, you're the CEO, so he didn't
Wow.
lead with an iron fist, hey, this is me. He let his character.
He was humble.
Yeah, he let his character shine through.
Yeah.
So I'm a very proud entrepreneur. And I will most likely always be an entrepreneur. I love just having a mission, maybe using other people's money, and just absolutely going to war and outworking everybody. I think that's why me and Damon work so well together, because he can just commission me to do something, and I'm going to do it all in, all the way, nonstop until we get the type of result that we want. So if you're an entrepreneur, so someone that is within an organization, but you have a lot of freedom. I don't know the exact definition.
Yeah, sounds very similar.
But basically a leader in somebody else's business, but you got a lot of freedom to spend some money and determine your income based on maybe sales or production. 3 things. I'd be an intelligent follower. If you have a great leader and they're giving you feedback, you got to understand they understand your work behavior probably better than you do.
Wow.
The biggest thing that I like to do when I'm hiring is I always ask people hey, what do your parents think about you coming out and selling pest control? Doesn't sound sexy, right? And you probably have lost people on your podcast already because it's not sexy. It's the bug guy, right? But, at the end of the day, the scalability in pest control is absurd.
And your story in particular is really good. I mean, I've always...
So I'm always asking I'm always asking people, what do your parents think about you doing this job? And if they give me doubt, I'm actually questioning them. Like, why would your parents not think you could do this job well? Right? So
it's funny you say that, because I was going to join Active, and I had so much fear. My mom was like, dude, you're going to Atlanta, like, you don't know anybody out there. But really, I think that would have been good for me if I'd have went to Atlanta and sold pest control.
In 2020?
18.
Oh, okay.
Sweat 17.
Yeah.
This was under
Joel?
Joe.
Yeah, I was just with Joel earlier.
Yeah, so this was under Joe, and so I had so much fear, man. But they say if it scares you and excites you, you should definitely do it. And so I wish I'd have done it. Turned out pretty good, but I wish that I could have done that. And I think sales experience, door knocking in particular, is one of the best things that anybody, male or female, can learn. Because, like, the confidence you get in sales, understanding people, sales is all psychology. That's all sales is, right? Understanding people, understanding emotion, and why they should buy. So, touching base back on the leadership, the three things, like, I bet, parents are something you look at.
Yeah, big time. I mean, if they bring up parents, I'm wondering why, your parents don't think you would do well, because that, for me, as an employer, I'd trust a parent who's watched your behavior.
Right.
So ultimately, if you're an entrepreneurial leader in a business, or you're in a franchising org or something where, like, you've got a mentor, maybe like real estate.
Yeah.
If your higher up is giving you feedback, you shut up and do it.
Right.
You don't, like, tell them of why you feel a certain way. You just go do it, because they have a great understanding of your work behavior. And I mean, I don't know most people are, in a room meditating on their own awareness or videotaping themselves. I know we'll watch this back, but most people aren't.
Right.
So they don't even know what they're doing half the time. So I'd say that's the first one. Be an intelligent follower. Like, follow directions.
Love that.
The second thing, build a relationship and make everyone in the organization feel important. So anyone that I'm ever talking to, like, I want them to feel like they're the most important person in the room. The most important person in the room. I don't care who it is. Like, I'm looking it's so in depth. I'm looking at a certain eye.
Wow.
Like, I'm not just, like, staring off into space when I'm talking to people, but I'm very intentful.
Right.
And I do it because, like, our entire lives are based on human connection. And, like, my mission is helping young people jumpstart their career through getting them away from Xbox, PS3, behind their phones, and into the real world, because that's where business is going to be happening most of your life. At some point, you're not texting or emailing, but you're at the table doing a deal. And if you're a weirdo and you can't communicate, or they can't trust you, and you don't have $1 billion, they're not doing a deal with you. It's just not going to happen. So you have to, like, understand how to, communicate. And so that second one is build a relationship with everyone, not just people who you can get something out of. Last thing is always give more than you expect to receive in compensation. Give more, give more, give more. That's what I built my entire career on. 2020, pandemic happened. We're knocking doors, right? You don't know if you have a job tomorrow when you're doing door-to-door sales and there's a global pandemic going on.
Wow.
So how did I keep our people around? I gave more value than I could possibly ever expect to receive in compensation. I was pulling 16 to 18-hour days, one-on-one training everyone in our region. We had 150 sales reps that were going out and wanting to knock doors. And I pretended like everything was okay and that the summer was going to be fine and that I was going to continue to train them. And there is this cloud of understanding that, hey, in the event that we can't go do our job, I'm still going to take care of you. So always give more. This could be more than just leadership. Always give more than you expect to receive in compensation. It'll come tenfold.
That's huge. Let's talk about that COVID real quick, that 2020 summer. Were you guys wearing masks when you went door knocking, or how was that? Like, how were you guys perceived at the door? You guys did pretty well though, right?
Yeah, well, I got attacked pretty hard on social media because the first day of the 2-week to slow things, I was out running.
Wow.
And I posted that, hey guys, just because the world is caving to adversity doesn't mean I'm going to stop. And I don't think you should either. And people were saying all kinds of things to me, like, "Oh, you're not taking it seriously enough. This isn't a productivity contest." Well, I could tell you, about 2.5 years later, the dues that I paid during that time, not letting my mind go to waste, not watching ESPN's.
I love that.
Not watching ESPN's like highlight reels of games that happened in the 90s, which is totally pointless, right? Like I was reading books. I was out running.
Yeah.
I was super overweight, and I'm like, global pandemic, I'm unhealthy, I'm going to get healthy.
It's an opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity.
Opportunity, baby.
So I sent it, and it's crazy. We actually doubled our sales that summer.
Wow.
And some people would say, well, more people were home. Yeah, slightly. We built ourselves different. When that 2-week slowdown happened and we were all faced with an opportunity that we might not have a job, that we'd been preparing for, our entire career was lined up for, it made us very grateful. And we actually worked twice as hard to prepare for the summer.
Wow.
And then we sent it. And when the summer started, like day one the stuff was lifted and we could go to work, we dominated. And that was actually my best summer for my team.
That's crazy.
It was the best summer of my career up to that point. We doubled our sales. I mean, we served 13,000 customers in Fort Worth, Texas, and Atlanta. New customers. 3 months, dominated. So
no excuses, baby.
Yeah.
No excuses. I mean, 2020 was a rough year for some people, a lot of people, right? But that was a year for me for opportunity too.
Yeah.
It's when I started my indoor billboards, right? It's where I really hunkered down and just went all in.
Yeah.
Like 10x, baby. Like I was like, it's either now or never.
Right.
There's no B plan for me. It's A only, right? It's just A. Like there's no B. There's no backup. And my mom was like, I got a job offer from the news station for like $60K up down here in Wilmington. And they were like, you need to take that job. You need to take that job. And I was like, no way. I was like, I'm going in. I'm sacrificing, and I'll hunker down just like you guys did. And, it's paid off tenfold.
Exactly. I mean, I think it was a great opportunity with the quote of what Andrew Carnegie of Carnegie Steel, second wealthiest man basically ever to John Rockefeller.
Yep.
He said, I put all my eggs in one basket, and I watched that basket. So I put all my eggs in the Apted basket, and I watched it.
Yeah.
And and that, that's what you rose up and did during the pandemic too.
Yeah.
So the world may have been caving to adversity, but we weren't.
Yeah, and I think you guys got to really just get the confidence, right?
Yeah.
Confidence is everything, and it talks about that in the Bible. Me and Wyatt are both spiritual people, and it's like confidence is the number one thing that I think anybody should gain, right? If you have confidence, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And it's a mindset, right? And so, I think 75 hard for Wyatt has been super good. I've seen your transformation, dude, your Instagram pictures. We may pop some up in the video for you guys to see. So you can see that, and it's like, dude, like, it motivates me, brother. It motivates me, and it's like, dude, I know if you can do that, I can do that. Anybody can do that. The 400-pound guy watching right now that just ate Cheetos for breakfast, dude, you can do that, brother. Like, you can turn yourself around and just don't ever give up.
Yeah. Yeah, that transformation, one of my best friends, Daniel Ferris, I work with him, and we were really close in college and did some all-nighters together, and laughed about our buddy Elijah, who, didn't do all-nighters but would show up to tests and get A's.
Yeah.
Super funny.
Anyways, guys.
Yeah, he once said to me, the result or the reward for hard work is more hard work. And it's so funny because I did 75 hard, and then I did 6 months of CrossFit 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And I dialed in my health, and then I kept increasing weight, hired a sports psychologist. And once you really dive into that personal development journey, you can't stop.
Right.
There are moments where it's super motivating, where you see what's going on, but there's also moments under the surface that the foundation is building. So the weight loss was really cool, but I look back, I started that 2 years ago, and it looks like that old person ate me, right? Could eat me right now. But what happened in here with the connections that I made in my brain is really far more
Changed everything,
impressive. Yeah, and I'm not even started.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Is like,
Right.
I'm still going 0 to 1 right now. So
Let's dive into that health stuff real quick. What are we branding right now? People probably do. What do these guys got on right now?
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell them a little bit about the blue light blockers and why they're beneficial?
Yeah, I can. So, super funny. I wear these. I surf a lot. I typically surf 3 to 4 hours in the morning, and
damn that.
So I get
how many hours? 3 to 4.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I love it.
Putting in that work, baby. That's why you up at 4 o'clock, right?
Yes, exactly.
Catching the waves.
Exactly.
Let's go.
So I spend a lot of time in the sun, and so I want to wear these to pretty much protect my eyes when I'm in lighting that is not super conducive to your health. This is a lot of artificial lighting.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny. Me and Austin, he meets me in the lobby and he's wearing the same glasses that I'm wearing.
The same brand too.
It's all about the razor's edge difference. If you are a high performer and you are really into the process and you're really in love with the process of winning, you will do whatever it takes for just a razor edge difference. And I learned that in my development. And wearing junk light blocking glasses and wearing like the red tinted glasses that True Dark, owned by Dave Asprey, also puts out, like, is it going to change your life? Probably not, but it is the 1% every day that does compound for significant differences. And so I get a lot of clarity when I'm in like office space and the lighting is not perfect, for our circadian rhythm and whatnot, by wearing these glasses.
Yeah.
So I should know more about them.
Yeah.
They also look cool.
They look cool and they feel good. And, I have a marketing company, so I'm on my phone all the freaking time. And you are too, because you're texting your guys and, all that good stuff. And so I feel like, guys, if you're at home, if you're, on the computer a lot, watching TV, the least you could do is just buy a pair of these. And they help your sleep out too, right? So it's been proven, right? I wear these. I have another pair 2 hours before I go to bed. My sleep, my REM, my deep sleep has increased tremendously.
Drastically.
Yeah. I mean, just by wearing those. And it sounds funny.
Yeah.
My parents laugh at me. They're like, what the heck are these? I'm like, just take notes.
So do you wear the Aura?
Yeah, I've got the Aura ring too.
Okay. Yeah, so I do the Whoop.
Yeah, so it's similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super cool, dude.
Oh yeah, I mean the numbers behind these glasses is what I'm focused on. The results. Like, I could sleep for 6 hours.
Right.
In total, and I'll get 3.5 hours of REM and deep sleep.
That's huge.
Okay. I could sleep for 8 hours. And like I'll get pretty much the same amount. It makes it when you have less sleep, you're getting the same amount of deep and REM sleep.
Quality, right?
The restorative
Higher
sleep
quality.
that you really need. Yeah. Obviously, you lose out on your light sleep, which can impact your like memory and working memory. But it does create basically a floor that if you're sleeping less because you've got more work going on or maybe a baby, you are still getting that critical restorative sleep that you need.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What are some things that somebody can do right now to change their trajectory of their health, right? So if they're diabetic or let's just say they're overweight, what are some things that you've done, not saying you were any of those things, but you've told your story of the 75 hard and the transformation.
I was very overweight.
What are some things that they can do right now just to start turning that around, turning the clock around?
Oh, boy. I always start off with anti-inflammation. So, oh man.
You like fasting? Do you
Have
fast?
you ever? Yeah, I'm big on fasting. That'd be one thing I'd say. But really, just if you try to start going away from like things that cause inflammation, your entire life's going to change. I mean, most people don't realize that one of the causes of having really bad heartburn is actually gluten. You have heartburn, you think it's the tomatoes, but a lot of times it's going to be the gluten.
Wow.
So if you can cut out gluten, if you can cut out added sugar, if you can cut out soy, if you can cut out like MSG, if you could cut out seed oils, if you could cut out things that cause inflammation, you're going to live a completely different life. You're going to literally, like out of nowhere, automatically probably lose about 10 to 12 pounds because the inflammation is not going to be present any longer. And you're going to feel better too. So, that's one. It is tough. For the people that like, they don't know where to start, I would just start with eating windows. Like, only allowing yourself to eat from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and just cut out the late night snacks.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you would be doing is you'd be fasting from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. for about 12 hours, which helps in a lot of ways, okay? Then from there, once you got that down, now try to go, 8 a.m. to dinner at 6 p.m. and now you're doing 14 hours.
Right.
For me, I'm usually fasted for 18 to 20 hours a day. I like to do 2 or 3 meals a day, big meals, very nutrient
Lunch
dense.
and dinner or breakfast and lunch? And skipping dinner.
Man, it's like breakfast food.
Yeah.
But usually I'm breaking my fast between 10 and 12.
Got you.
So it's a late breakfast.
Yeah.
And then I'll have like a second, when I have a second meal, it'll be like 2-ish. And then when I have a third meal, if I do, it'd be, at like 4-ish.
Dude, that's awesome.
I do, mainly ketosis driven dieting, but I don't believe in like the concept of ketosis 24/7. And then I do a couple high carb days to balance out my hormones throughout the week. There's a lot of things I do. It's very complicated.
Yeah.
There's probably I could probably create a list of 150 little tweaks that I have in my life. So, and then, if you want to change your life in 5 minutes, I'd say, hop in a cold tub.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, just like.
Dude, I love cold showers.
Yeah.
I haven't done the cold plunges yet, like the actual bath.
Yeah.
But I've done cold showers. They're tough, man. They're tough. I mean,
yeah,
it's a mindset. It's a mindset for sure.
Yeah, that'll really change the way that you just think about a lot of things. They say that it's 2 minutes automatically helps your mental resilience. But there are a lot of physiological benefits basically that come from what's called hormesis.
Yeah.
Which is putting your body in extremes. So a lot of people love the saunas.
Yeah.
But really, it's the cold side.
Yeah.
If you can get in water about 50-ish degrees,
Yeah.
you're sitting pretty.
Tony Robbins does that first thing in the morning, guys.
Yeah.
2 or 3 minutes, and he's like, man, I get the worst, hardest thing out of the day right there.
Yep.
Rest of the day's easy.
Yep.
And it sets his body up for success. It really gets him alert. And so I think that's the biggest thing in a cold is getting your body alert. And, the guy I learned from was Wim Hof.
Mm-hmm.
So cold plunges, Wim Hof, you really just start, because when you die, think about it, when you die, and everybody, heart attack, cancer, wreck, you die of lack of oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. What's the number one thing they give you when you go to the ER hospital? They hook you up to oxygen.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, you think about that, it's like oxygen, we only get 20%. And so, I take a lot of Boost Oxygen, and Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, invested into this company on Shark Tank. And so I think oxygen is the number one thing, is really focusing on our breathing. I sleep, I don't know how you sleep at night, but I sleep through my nose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an open mouth breather.
Yep.
And so there's so many things, guys. And me and Wyatt both follow very similar people. And I think that's really one of the biggest things to changing your whole life, right? This whole podcast has been about sales, leadership, and health. The number one thing we can recommend is probably make sure you're surrounding yourself with either like-minded people or, like you said, following people.
Healthy environment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's huge.
This concept that you're supposed to spend your 20s still at the bars on Thursdays and then Friday night outs and then the beer festival of the weekend.
Yeah.
You guys are blowing it. I know that people can counterbalance that with high performance, but I haven't drank alcohol since I was 18 years old, and
wow.
I don't miss it at all.
Wow.
But almost 10 years.
That's incredible.
And you got to surround yourself with the kind of people that are going to fit the future that you're trying to want to create, not the past. Let's stop playing child's games. That was for 18 to 22. Okay, now it's understandable. Congratulations, you can smoke a cigarette. You can do drugs.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Right.
You're cool, right? Whatever you need to tell yourself. Okay, now let's get to work and build something and go be a functioning member of society at minimum. But really, we should be a contributing member of society. You're not going to do that with 6 shots of vodka thrown back. So I'm a big anti-drinking kind of thing. Some people can handle it, but most people can't.
Yeah, I mean, most successful people have to make those sacrifices.
Yeah.
And most people that aren't successful aren't willing to make those sacrifices.
Yeah.
So, dude, it's been a pleasure, brother.
Dude, of course.
You guys
appreciate you
go
having me
follow
on.
Wyatt on Instagram. I'll put his Instagram handle If you guys don't know me, you can go follow me. But, dude, we'll definitely be dropping some bombs. And stay tuned for more updates with me and Wyatt. We'll probably do another podcast here soon.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet.